Okay, good afternoon. My name is Mark and I'm your host for this session this afternoon. And I would like to start to welcome all of you at our virtual roundtable discussion about the power of virtual reality and artificial intelligence in real estate development. And actually, this roundtable session looks like a Vajinek show, but with a cup of tea instead of a glass of beer, I guess. And there will be more differences. Okay, but let's get serious. We are very curious of the people that are in our audience at the moment. And to be quite frankly, I think it's really a pity we cannot reach out to you via a poll or something like that. But the good news is all the people in the audience are able to make questions, to ask questions or to make comments via the chat box. So please feel free to use the chat function. We'll be happy to answer all your questions during or after this session. Yeah, I think I'd like to start with the introduction of our table guests. And let me start with Willem-Jan Hanegraaf. Willem-Jan has been working at Rijnstate Hospital for 8 years now. And his current role is Director Real Estate. And in this role, he's responsible for an extensive real estate investment program to make Rijnstate future-proof. Our second guest is Vincent Hofs. Vincent started his career in the construction industry and worked for renowned GCs like Heijmans, Griepers Group, and the Royal BAM Group. And in the last 3 years, he has been working as Director Real Estate Development at Rensdahl Group. And Rensdahl Group is a real estate company, and they are masters in creating urban value. Our third guest is Kenneth Pimentel, and we may call him Ken. Ken has been working at Epic Games for 4 years now, and before his work at Epic, he had an impressive career at Autodesk. And in his current role, Ken is Strategic Business Development Director for the AEC market at Epic Games, and Ken is a real visualization pundit. And last but not least, I'd like to introduce Robert Karaman to you. And Robert has been working as partner and project manager at K&R for almost 20 years now. And K&R is an innovative project management and consultancy company that uses state-of-the-art technologies and design tools in their work. I'm really proud to have you here at our table today, and I'd like to thank you in advance for your presence and your contribution. So let's go to the subject of today, and allow me to give you a brief introduction to this. We at K&R believe that we are on the verge of the rise of the era of immersive and intuitive user experience, and besides that, there are the rises of the information society, artificial intelligence, and third-wave computing. Furthermore, we are convinced of the fact that these developments will finally empower clients in the real estate industry, and this will dramatically change the way how we analyze, interact, and make decisions about data. New technologies will enable clients, and by the word clients, I mean both decision makers and end users in the real estate industry, to harness data surrounding the design and usage of buildings in an informative, sensible, and intuitive way without the need for architectural, technical, or design expertise. And let me give you a few examples of contemporary possibilities with these new technologies. At first, the rise of collaborative visualization, a kind of group VR, enables users to experience the design options in photorealistic 3D for the purpose of decision-making and design efficiency. In retail, this is called digitally try before you buy. And why shouldn't we apply this principle in the real estate industry, where the average purchase amounts are much higher? For example, optimization of construction, building orientation, building layouts like 6 feet, floor plans, and so on. The second example is the simulation of the impact of design decisions on the capital expenses, operational expenses, energy performance, indoor climate, and so on. And as we speak, these simulations are already possible in the feasibility phase of projects. And this is accomplished through the usage of big data and algorithms from open source APIs. Last but not least, visualization of the design deliverables, of the feasibility phase of product. So the visualization of the design deliverables instead of an avalanche of unreadable technical reports and drawings. That seems like a wild dream, isn't it? I'd like to show you a short video to make the given examples more appealing to you. And let's find out how that works. Oh, yeah. And I see a good tip in the chat. If you double click on the video, it will enlarge. Oh.
Yeah, the vid was not good, Mark. You just saw some.
No?
No, it's terrible.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Oh. Okay, okay. Our time is limited today and too short to explain all the features you could have seen in this video. But if you could have seen it, it's obvious that it won't take long before the development of real estate will become one big serious game. So let's start our discussion. Yeah, I'm looking to Vincent, but he can't see me. Vincent, you've already experienced a few of these technologies in your projects, isn't it?
Yeah, I did. Yeah.
And can you give us an example and maybe an insight in the benefits or added value you've experienced?
Yeah, sure. For me, or for us, as a real estate developer and a real estate investor, it's all about management of expectations. As you told in your introduction, it's for us quite handy and helpful to get a good insight in what a building will look like in its natural surrounding using a VR, how the inside will look like for our tenants. The management of expectation has two aspects. It's internally for our own organization, so we can communicate quicker and easier about making choices which will affect the whole design process and the decision-making process in a way that it's easier to get a feeling up front of the consequences of the choices you make. So it's helpful for us internally in the discussion with my colleagues, and for me making decisions whether we go left or right. And externally, it's very helpful for our clients, our stakeholders, and everything you can imagine being part of a development process. With architects, in your participation process with the municipality, with people who live in the near vicinities of the project that you're planning. So it's about communication. It's about a management of expectation, and I think for us being professionals, we don't often think about people who are not able to extract the information from the things we see as professionals. Friends of mine are in a completely different line of work, and when I show them drawings or technical schemes of a building, they haven't had any clue of what they were looking at. The simple things as for yourself in your mind, translating a two-dimensional floor plan into a three-dimensional picture and having a feeling about dimensions and height and width and the possibilities of making an empty floor into a good office space. For us as professionals, that's our daily work. But when you're not in that line of work and you don't have that creative aspect or the ability to make 2D into 3D in your head, artificial intelligence like VR and that sort of technology is very helpful. So for me, it sums up to management of expectation.
Okay, clear. Thank you, Vincent. And how about you, Willem-Jan? Kind of the same question for you. For what purpose does Randstad use these technologies, and what are the benefits you have experienced?
It's quite in the same line as Vincent told us. For us, we are at the same time developer of new real estate, but also our organization is also the client, so also the user of the new real estate we are building, or the new functionality, as we say it. So it's not only about the real estate options that you could make more readable and possible in this way, but also create relationships with, for example, medical equipment or new working plans and processes that you could use and validate at this way. So it's quite a big step forward for us. And what we see now is that by using these kinds of assistance in our design process and validation processes, our total of processes and real estate development plannings get shorter, and we see that in the end of the development process and in the user phase, we have less functional, let's say, modifications to do, because users understand better in the front side of the design process what they get, and that it fits on the expectations they have. So
so it's shorter and cheaper.
It is
at the end.
Yeah, I don't know if we use artificial intelligence yet. So it's more like intelligent assistance or something, but not still AI, I think. So that could be the next step.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Maybe we'll get back to that point. But Kenneth, how about you? Epic Games originally made their name in the game industry and have continuously had great success with Fortnite. So why is Epic looking to evolve and grow in the direction of the building environment, or the so-called AEC market?
Yes, so thanks, Mark. First, I want to apologize for not speaking Dutch. I think I'm forcing everyone to speak English, and I realize that is not necessarily
Try to speak English.
You're all doing a very good job, much better job than I in Dutch. So Epic has seen self-adoption of the engine in architectural, manufacturing, Hollywood, all these different industries. And we realized that we should do something about that a few years ago, and I joined Epic. And we've been on a mission to simplify the process of getting your data into a game engine. So at this point, we read all of the common design formats for manufacturing and architecture. It helps you get your data in and then bring it to life. Because I think the things that Vincent and Wilhelm talked about, it's compelling to be able to walk around and get a understanding of scale and dimensionality and materiality from a project long before it's built. And the earlier we can move that conversation in the process, the cheaper it is to make a decision. If you start making those decisions late stage, the cost on a real estate project goes dramatically up. So the more we can make those early stage, the better we can address them from a cost perspective. We also see one of the big values people see when they used to use offline rendering, things that take hours and days to render to get a result, it slows down the whole design process. What customers want to do is make decisions right up to the very last moment. They want to have their design process working at full speed, and they don't want an artificial barrier that's caused by rendering. So they want decisions in real time.
Real-time rendering,
Yes.
you mean?
So real-time rendering, kind of the immediacy of that is a very compelling value to all of our architectural stakeholders and engineering. And then the real estate, we're working with the MIT Real Estate Innovation Lab to bring their economic models of real estate into the virtual world. So in the future, you should see a project where you're able to get all of that invisible information will be made visible in a single virtual environment.
Wow, that sounds great. Okay, and that's one thing you at Epic have on the drawing board. What more developments can you reveal to us?
What you'll see from us is open worlds. So this is the idea that you could have 100-kilometer by 100-kilometer virtual experience, and we'll take care of the complexities of getting that streamed and optimized. But you'll be able to basically have these open worlds that you can explore, because a lot of projects are at certainly city scale or a very large urban development, and you have to be able to support that level of complexity. The other thing is collaboration. It's a very hot topic these days. So we allow you to create an experience and host it on a cloud, like an Amazon cloud, and then you can stream that experience, and it's interactive. So we can stream it to any mobile device, and you can interact with it. You don't need the hardware, and you don't need the experience actually on your device. You just need to put it up on the cloud.
Okay, that sounds great, Ken.
Can I ask a question?
Yes,
Ken, what's the big difference between let's say the software that we're using right now in the industry, which has an architectural background, in comparison to the game engine?
So I came from Autodesk. I was 13 years at Autodesk working with 3ds Max and Revit and Inventor. So I'm very familiar with those tools.
Yeah.
And basically, we've taken all of that knowledge. We have a very experienced team that came, a lot of them came out of Autodesk. And we are able to take that knowledge about how those products work and what you want to do with the data. So, for example, if you're familiar with Revit, Revit has metadata, right? Properties, BIM properties.
Yeah.
Those are all brought over into the virtual experience so that when you're in the virtual experience, you can still get back to the metadata, or you can build the experience around the metadata. Mm-hmm. So I think we have aligned the game engine at this point with how you want to work with the data that it sits in the design applications. And we're just, the nature of the game engine is to optimize for speed. And we've done that in such a way that we can take the same data and we can just work with it 1,000 times faster.
Okay. So it's not so that we will be designing in the game engine.
Right, correct. We see ourselves as supporting the collaboration, and the scaling. So many of our customers, they run into bottlenecks in the design apps, and they like a Revit, they might have 12 Revit files for a single project. Well, how do you view that entire project? So you can in our engine. We can suck in all of those Revit files, combine them, and you'll have one unified experience of the project.
Is it also a different, let's say, look and feel? Because for me, when I'm in a discussion with architects or other technical people and they try to visualize a complex technical solution or something else, it's always a technical picture. And I think for me, I hope you can confirm that the bonus of the gaming industry is that it's all about the experience. It's all about high resolution images and creating that spot on being in the center of something feeling.
Yes, it's a good point. Aesthetics is important to a lot of customers. So Mark is showing a video of one of our customers. This is VR. They've built a sales configuration tool.
It doesn't work. Ah,
Pardon?
it does. Hey, it works. Can you
Yes,
see
I
it?
can.
Yeah.
It's not fast, but this is the fidelity that we're known for. So imagine where you can go in, configure your house, do all of that, but you can do it from an iPad. And just because we're using pixel streaming, you build that application for the desktop, and then you take it and you put it up on a cloud, and then you give your customer just a URL, and then they can have that interactive experience streamed to them.
Okay. So you're able to instantly respond to the what if question.
Exactly. And you, Vincent, I'm glad you brought that up, because I talk about real time as in introducing a new metric. What ifs per hour, right? How many what ifs per hour can you do?
Yeah.
And what real time enables is this very high iterative, creative experience.
And with the total picture.
I'm sorry?
With the total picture. So
yeah,
how does it look by the daylight coming in, and then change the furniture, and how does the daylight then look, and everything else? And that's really cool. That's really cool.
But
So,
for us as a user, as a client, for the user of the real estate or the functionality, it would be nice if you could redesign while you are walking through that real estate or the floor plan or through the department, the ward, something like that. Maybe not for the real estate functionality, but for example, as I told you earlier, the medical equipment or something like that. So what will happen when you replace medical equipment from left to right, or from one room to another, or one area to another? What would that do with your process, patient process, journeys, as you could imagine? That would be interesting.
And you can also introduce the peer groups within the hospital, the doctors and the nurses, and let them experience real time.
Yeah.
What
from different perspectives,
handling speed or whatever.
Yeah, they have different perspectives, as you say, facilities, or you have doctors or medicals, as we say, or the nursing groups. From their perspective on, they could modify the floor plan or the way you are designing at that moment.
Yes, Willem, many of our hospital customers are using our software right now to go into a virtual world, and they're bringing in the staff to see if that's the way it should be, set up. So we already see those kinds of interactive experiments happening across the various types of real estate.
Okay.
The video that I just want to make a comment about the video that Mark has been rolling. What's interesting about this one is they take a 3D model of a city area, and this is Tampa Bay Water Street project, and they project on this with laser projectors all sorts of different kinds of data.
Okay.
And it's all driven by Unreal Engine. So our engine is driving the laser projectors, it's driving the screens in the background. So the screens in the background are showing what you can see from that point on the physical model.
Oh, wow.
And so all the colors and everything, that's all being driven by our engine. So that's just a white model, and now we're lighting it up for a night view. So this idea of blending, this is mixed reality. This is blending the physical world with the virtual world. And you can see the idea of having, stakeholders all around there having a conversation, because collaboration is about the conversation. And we have to support that in our process.
Cool.
Okay. Only 5 minutes to go, guys. So, Robert, having heard all this, what do you expect to be relevant in the future for your work at Kakai?
We all talked about VR, AR, and what the possibilities with the Unreal Engine from Epic Games are showing us. And we are from the part of the MEP. Yeah? We are going to Project Management 3.0. That is about this, about feeling, about looking, and we want to change the world and the way we do it right now, because a lot of these functions you see here are made at the end of a design phase, and that's where the AI comes in. The AI in our title. The AI allows us to gather all the data and make these choices in front. You're just looking at Rijnstate, where we can make already studies from how to gain energy by solar and how to invest. But more important is, how does it look like on the roof? How many space does it take at the roof? And these are design questions we can make in an early stage. And this is just a simple example, but also about how does the sun comes in and what does it with the interior climate do. All these questions we can make at the beginning of a design phase, if you can call it design anyway, because it's just collecting data and it's all around us. And AI is going to help us to make these decisions, and with VR and MR, we can show our clients what they are choosing for, and that's the real win. So we don't.
Yeah, the effect of the choices or the scenarios that you can choose between.
I'm sorry, Willem-Jan, I didn't hear you.
It's about the effect of the choices you make or the scenarios you are working in. That's because it's as you say, Robert, it helps us a lot in this early stage of developing a new hospital for Rijnstate at the moment. We are working on, and there are different scenarios as it is about the whole volume or about the MEP systems we are working on. So it's for us it's a real big help working this way.
Yeah, and but not everybody understands it yet, because in other projects, when I show this, they think I'm an architect, because that's normally the architect doing making the great pictures. But it's not about making the great picture. It's about understanding for everybody to show what we are doing and what we are making with each other.
It's because you look like an architect and not like an MEP advisor, maybe, Robert.
Yeah, I want to be an MEP advisor.
I'm gonna make a real Dutch comment, Ken.
Sure.
As always,
what does it cost?
What about the money?
Yeah.
But I think that's not a legitimate discussion, because I can imagine that investing in systems like this will cost a lot of money, but it will save much more money because you're able to make good decisions in an early stage without wasting any design time, design capability of people making the wrong choices, but knowing about that in a late stage of the process. So, I think investing in systems like this upfront will make it even cheaper.
Yeah, but it already is, because the Unreal Engine is so well, he solves a lot of things. He fills in. For example, if Unreal knows this is a fenster, then it is a fenster, and you can watch through the fenster and see how the environment is, because all this data is already there. The only thing we have to do is fixing it together. But because everything is digital, you have to do it one time, and then you can broad out. How do you say that? And then it's something that grows. You don't have to invent every time like we used to do. We every time we make a new design and a new discussion. That is not what it will be in the future in front of us.
I think because that is mostly the technical part, Robert. I think you have to see this in a total context. We have now some small experiences with this as a user, and as we see as a owner of this real estate, we are developing it in this way and comparing it to the old way of developing our real estate. We see it's in a total context and relationship with bringing in innovation, another way of shared decision making with our clients and users, but also with our board and maybe the banking and financing part of this kind of real estate development, contracting our contractors in another way, advisors as well as the contractors that are realizing the new real estate. Yeah, the constructors. It's the whole package that makes the better working, and this is one of the parts in the whole package, I think.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. Okay, but it's very interesting discussion, and 25 minutes is much too short.
Let's continue, Mark. Let's continue. We have 22 viewers. Let's go on.
We just stay on. Let's see when we are kicked out.
Okay.
Maybe there are some questions in the chat.
Yeah.
Hey, we do see, I just wanted to say, we do see even in Holland, there's I'm not sure I'm going to pronounce it correctly, Van Wingen? Is that? Van Wijnen? Yes, okay. They're a residential home developer, manufacturer, I guess is the right word. But they're very interested in how they could apply these techniques to their entire process. Not only the sales and manufacturing, where you need on the sales end, you need to have a virtual experience that matches the visual fidelity and the aesthetics of the project, but you also want to use it earlier in the design process. So there are definitely adoptions happening. Barcode in Amsterdam, they're a big user. So we're seeing even in your local area many efforts to figure out how to apply these things.
Jan, I have a question for you. You just mentioned that you invested in techniques like this. Can you explain what it is that you invested in? Did you buy software, or did you hire somebody who manages the software for you as a hospital?
It's both ways. It's about I think we are now on this path for some, let's say, 5 or 6 years. As Mark told you in the brief introduction, I am working now for Randstad for 6 years, 8 years in total, but the first 2 years I was... Sorry?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ken just told that he's checking out.
Okay, thank you, Ken. But in the past 6 years... we have turned our total organization around, as you could say. So it's a different way of organizing as well project management as it is for engineering and the whole participation process of our users in this process. So we are hiring different kind of advisors, as for example KNR. we are trying to see which contractors or construction companies we could hire. For example, Van Wijnen we are hiring, but also some other companies who are believing in this kind of working. We are also investing in another way of creating BIM as a platform for this whole process for us. And that starts at the program of requirements. So it's not only about designing, but it's also about how to build a good program of requirements and how we could use that from project to a library function back to a project function. So you could learn from one project to another. So it's also here the total package. And then last but not least, as I told you about different way of decision making in our organization with our board. So it's earlier on with we make the decisions in an earlier phase of the design process, and we are possible to put innovation also in our contracts with incentives. So not only getting different ways of contracting, but also putting incentives when we make innovation possible, and then there will be mostly financial incentives.
Yeah,
for
that was my question. It's about the money then, or something else?
No, in the end, it's all about the money.
Of course.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah, I really think we have to end this discussion. Vincent.
I'm sorry, I'm enthusiastic about the subject.
Maybe last question for you, Mark and Robert. What's your experience working this way the last couple of years? You are working for 20 years now, Robert, for KNR. What's your belief doing it this way instead of going the way you did it the past 17 years before?
That's a good question, Madam Jan. Of these 20 years, it is exactly 19 years then, okay. I was 16 years, the developments of KNR were, well, rather normal. And it's in the mid 20s, I say so, 2015, 16, Edwin was already thinking about this digitalization and the network society and what it all means to us. And I think in 2017, we said we have to do it different. We have to embrace this digitalization and seek for the opportunities in it. And that does not mean to do the same thing, but then digital. But how can we do it real differently? Well, now all of our colleagues or competitive firms were going to Revit and BIM and do the same thing, but then more digital. We said we have to do it different. We want to answer the question, what do I want as a client? And the computer figures out how to make it, because that is what it's going to be. So we set up a new strategy for our company to give the added value in this early stage. And how do you give this added value? Well, by making it visible and to show everybody what they are choosing for. So I think the last 2 years of KNR have been more innovative as the 18 years before I was there.
Yeah, because we want to solve the problem that Vincent told earlier this meeting, all the technical reports, all the technical drawings, and that's very, it's not 2020 at the moment.
User friendly. It's for a small group of people.
Yeah, that's the problem. There's a lot of, if a project is completed, there's a lot of rework because there are lots of issues that the users want to solve. So that's the way we.
And then still, I think for the small group of people Vincent is talking about, the engineers and the technical people who understand drawings, the better they do that, the less they are good at communicating. So it helps them as well.
Also true.
Exactly. And I think, in addition, I told before that when you see at the innovation of digitalization, there was first the personal computer, then the second wave of computing. It was all about the iPads and the phones, and now we are at the start of third wave computing, which means this VR, MR, and AI are really speeding up the developments, and that is what we are. That's where we are in right now, and we have a clear vision of how to use it in our work environment. So
that's a good.
Okay, we're drawing to
Ken or not?
yes,
Mark, I have to.
Last question.
Well,
I have to check out because there's someone waiting for me.
Interesting point that Robert made.
Okay,
Thank you.
Briljant, thank you.
Ciao.
Bye bye.
Bye-bye. And that's a good point that Robert made, that coming from the game industry, the technology crosses over to the building and architectural industry. So it's getting more common sense.
Yeah.
That makes me wonder, maybe you can tell something about that, Ken. What's new and happening in the game industry, which will cross over in 2, 3, or 4 years from now, from the game industry to our industry? What's next?
So what's pretty clear is that, I don't know if you know Fortnite or your kids play Fortnite, but we have 100 people all over the world, all coming to one shared virtual environment where they can build things collaboratively. Why don't we have that as professionals? Right? Wouldn't you find that useful? A virtual place. So I think what we've proven is the ability to handle, I think our public numbers are 225 million users. And we're able to handle really millions of people coming together on a minute-by-minute basis and being able to do something useful. And I think what we're on a mission is building the multiverse. So we want to basically use the money from Fortnite to build the multiverse so that you can go into this environment and do productive things on your own terms.
Okay, wow.
It's coming.
I'm ready for it.
Prepare.
I'm done, Mark, I'm done.
Okay, now, then this the end of our breakout session. I'd like to thank you as table guests, of course, for your inspiring contributions. And without you as front runners, there's an echo,
It's
isn't
small.
it?
Okay.
Okay. But without you as front runners, we wouldn't be able to innovate at a high pace in our industry. And of course, a great thanks to our audience. There are still 15 people there. So if any unanswered questions are left in the chat box, we will get back to you, and that's a promise, of course. And thank you all for being here, and see you next time.
Thanks.
Bye bye.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.